Everybody, super excited today here on the Courage Pays Better Than Fear podcast. One of the things that Edmund and I are trying to do this year is get people on here who are doing amazing things, who are challenging themselves, who are pushing the envelope. And today I have the pleasure of introducing to you Bo Marchionte. For my Steelers fans out there, you probably know who Bo is, but more importantly is this guy's spirit, his warrior mentality, his perseverance, because, and I wrote this down before we got on here, currently, over a 27-year period, he has run every day 3 miles, and Bo, correct me if I'm wrong when I'm done here, for 9,840 days, which is just insane. And so we're going to talk to Bo about all this, what it takes, plus some of these other events that he's done, some ultras. He's just a fascinating human being, and I'm grateful to have him here on the show. I'm going to shut my mouth. Bo, welcome to Courage Pays Better Than Fear. Thanks for being on, man.
Jeremy, listen, when you reached out, I'm so thankful that you're letting me be part of your guys' podcast. I love the desire and the passion you guys bring to kind of help motivate and kind of bring a positive light. So props to you guys. And like I said, it's kind of not odd not seeing you on the sidelines in Latrobes. And here we are in the confines of our cozy, warm homes as winter, and the Steelers head the Philly this weekend.
I know. We were just talking before we got on here. Philadelphia is the black hole for the Steelers. They never seem to win there, but we'll see what happens. But hey, more importantly, let's just dive right in here, man. I know when we were talking this summer in Latrobe, that's where I found out about your streak, or maybe it was Jim. We were talking on the podcast, but just talk to me about how that all started. I mean, almost 10,000 straight days, 27 years. What's the story on this? I'd love to hear this.
Well, when I started dating my wife and back in the early 90s, she was, she'd go to the YMCA and she kept herself fit, and she just kind of always, talk trash, like I could beat you in a race or I'm faster than you. I mean, it wasn't like I was, I just like, I don't think you can. And then, we went running one day and I was faster than her. And, and then I kind of liked it, and then after that, you're not that you're old in your 20s, but you figured, you're not in high school athletics or college things. So you're kind of like, maybe I should do something to just kind of stay active. And I fell in love with it. Jeremy, I didn't run in high school. I played soccer, but I always had the mindset that I like to move. I'm always fidgety. I'm always doing something. So, but it is, and people, not to get ahead of ourselves with the streak, but people say is like, is it daunting? Does it exhaust you? Do you have to worry about it? And the only thing that makes me mad on a run day is when I don't have a day to just run like I want to. Hypothetically, say Steelers game day. I live in Youngstown, so I got to wake up early, get to the stadium, and I call that like a crap run because I just my minimum 3 miles around the neighborhood, jump in the shower, and then I'm off to the stadium. So, but I like days like after we get done today, I'm gonna go out to Mill Creek Park and just enjoy myself. But it was basically with the wife. She kind of got it started, and then I just kind of fell in love with it, and it's definitely a passion now.
Yeah. So can you take us back to that first day? Do you remember the first run where this all started?
I don't really remember the first day. I'm not gonna lie. And at the time, Cal Ripken had his streak, and that was one of the most, largest sports stories at the time when Ripken had his consecutive game streak. So that kind of gave me the idea that, I knew I wasn't going to be the fastest guy. I knew I wasn't going to, run the farthest and all these other things. So I'm like, you know what, just maybe start stacking days and see how many days can we catch Cal, and then I caught Cal. And by that point, you just kind of kept growing and growing. And it's funny, even now, I'm not as fast as I was years ago, but you kind of learn different things about, how to keep yourself healthier and like anything. But yeah, I don't remember the first day. And even prior to the first time I really started the streak, I ran a lot, not every single day, but a lot. And I think like the most was like 14 or 16 days straight. And then,
Okay.
but on the 4th of 98, I decided to start the streak then. I don't know why I didn't start it on the first. Maybe I was hungover from New Year's Eve. I don't know. I really don't know why. I mean, it's so long ago, but it started on the 4th, and knock on wood, we've been able to kind of keep it going.
Wow. Wow. So let's just talk some dates here and some numbers. I'm a big numbers guy. So currently the streak stands at 9,840 days. Today will be 9,841 after we're finished.
After we're
And you
finished.
said that this has been going on for 27 years. I guess talk me through some of the math when you'll hit 10,000. And do you have an end date on this, or is this something that you're just going to continue forever?
Yeah, you know what? I don't have an end date on it, and the day 10,000 will be sometime in May. I get different messages sometimes from folks. They're like, "Hey, your 10,000th days, the 21st of May," or somebody will, be it's the 28th of May. So I don't know. We'll have to get a little closer. I know we're planning on doing something. We had a big party at the house for 9,000, and it's crazy to think that day 9,000 seemed like yesterday.
Yeah.
And now, again, we're approaching 10,000. So but it's big plans, and like I said, just excited to reach that number. When you do these streaks, you can't fast forward it. You can't gain a week of days in one day. It's day by day. And I can be honest with you here, Jeremy. This is the only number that I'm anxious about. Like I'm very excited to get to. Ricky Williams, I think, has 10,006 rushing yards. I loved Ricky Williams. So I always kind of compare my running days to the rushing yard totals. So there's something like personal for me to kind of like reach him, and
Yeah.
and hopefully we pass Emmett Smith. I don't have any desires to stop. And if I do quit, at least where my mindset is now, it's gonna be it's gonna be a catastrophic thing. It's gonna be a very sad day because I truly listen, if I run 3 days in a row with 3 miles in my max day, I'm like you like I need pills, Jeremy. Like I need help. Like I feel like a captive. I gotta get out and go.
Got to get
So
out.
yeah.
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 I can feel the energy just from talking to you. So there's a lot. That's that spirit that's there. So I mean, there's got to be those days too. I mean, for a streak that lasts this long, where you're sick, you've got a cold, you got pneumonia, you got the flu, or you have life happens. You might have something happening within the family. You know, uh, just all those things. How do you manage a streak when shit hits the fan?
Well, I like to, depending on how fast you run. I mean, everybody has at least 15 minutes in the day. You could run 1 mile or walk. Everybody has a little bit of time.
Mhm.
I probably the leading, I'd say, let's start with some of the bigger dates. I think the first real test, and not real test, but when my wife, we had our first child in 2000, we were at the hospital and I didn't run yet that day. And the doctor gave her the epidural. I'm like, how long we have? And he goes, well, it could go any time, but he goes, I don't think it's gonna be anytime soon. I'm like, you know what? I got 30 minutes. I'm out the door. So I left the hospital, ran down the road, my 30 minutes, and got back to the hotel. And I didn't avoid, I didn't miss the birth. And so, I probably would have caught a lot of hell, Jeremy, if that went the other way. And maybe the streak would have been shut down on June 20th of 2000. Maybe it would have been 2 years in. So, but no, that was for the first one. I've had COVID several times. And last September was the most serious injury. For a long time, I kept feeling my left knee. I kept feeling like when I would run, it almost felt like it was gonna explode and would get I could just feel it throbbing and throbbing. And me and my wife were up in Cuyahoga. She does her run, I do mine. And and I like to joke when I'm running to myself, to my body. I'm like, listen, if we're gonna break, because we're gonna go tomorrow, we're gonna go the day after that. So let's get through, either pop, blow, do whatever. And I was going down the towpath and I just heard, I mean, I heard it snap, I felt it pop. Yeah, I was like, like, oh my God, today's the day, like this is it. And
Hmm.
that I don't, and I knew I was going to run the next day or do the best I could, but we made it through that. But that was painful and it was slow. I know I did something major at that point,
Yeah.
and but it was, it took a good month. I look, I mean, I was running, not that I'm fast by any stretch, but just say an average day, was in like just sevens or eights, a casual, decent run for me, but I was I was like 13-minute miles,
Yeah.
just, and, on braces. And it sucked. It really did. And still now I still feel a little bit of it, but that
Yeah.
was probably the hardest part. And then that jeopardized 10,000 in the year and everything. But I did 50 miles down in Tunnel Hill, and that was kind of like a see where we're at race about a month
Yeah.
ago. So we made it
Okay.
through there. So
So yeah, you're see where you're at races 50 miles. You're a badass. So, but you mentioned something there where you talked about how you're talking to yourself, you're talking to your body. So there's a lot that plays into this that is related to mindset. So I'm interested in hearing, how you look at those days when you don't feel like running, or maybe you don't have those types of days, or how you talk to yourself, or what that those inner workings are like to keep yourself motivated on track. Because to do that every single day, to do it for a month, a year, that's one thing, but to do it for 27 years, that's a whole different animal. I don't think people understand. So
right.
talk to us about your mindset and what that the visualization or self-talk is like for you.
I guess maybe not be exact, but like we're going on our first cruise with my in-laws next October. And I've already asked them, when are we waking up? When do we go to port? Like I need to know, like, when am I going running that day? Am I running on the boat? Does the boat have a track? Like, so my mind's already kind of expanding, like, okay, we're this day to that day. And that kind of goes with, almost every day, where am I going to run tomorrow? How far are we going to run? I'd say once, maybe in a month or a couple days in a month where I don't feel like going, but kind of like what I said earlier in the show, it's not so much that I don't want to run. It's just I have stuff to do that day where it makes my running experience not as much as I like it. I know it's selfish to think that every day that I've been fortunate enough to do something I love, and I do love it. And, on those days where I can't have max satisfaction, it irritates me. But I guess when you're obsessed or you're goofy, those are kind of the mindset that you have that, I want it to be perfect. And I try to hit every day. Every day is not your best. I
Hmm.
mean, I can tell you that. As I get older, I mean, I just some days I wonder, like, what the hell are we doing? It's just everything is old and shitty. Uh, but nonetheless, I love doing it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you, listen, all the listeners out there, Jeremy's no slack either. Like, we're sitting on the sidelines in the Trove, and he's doing like 5,000 push-ups a day, or his goal was 70,000 push-ups a month, or just ungodly numbers. And I'm like, who the hell is this guy? Who does this? So I admire you, my friend, and all the stuff that you put yourself through too. So
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Yeah, right now I'm in the middle of 100,000 kettlebell swing challenge, which I was trying to do in 24 days, but by the end of December. But I might have to extend that into January to give myself a full month because it's a lot of swings. Plus, I'm training for a marathon, so
there you
I,
go.
I gotta, I gotta, I gotta redesign my path how to get there. The goal's not changing. I just gotta tweak it a little bit. So,
Yeah. You
um,
get it.
yeah. So, but were you always into physical fitness, or were you always into challenges and pushing yourself? What were you like as a kid? Was this something that was part of your psyche at an early age, or was this something that just happened as you got older?
No, I mean, I think I always played with energy and hustle. I mean, I'm not, you know me, I'm 5 feet tall, so there's not a lot to me. So, no, I mean, I liked hustle, and I told you, I mean, I've always liked running. I think that's why I liked soccer. I never liked baseball because it was just too stagnant for me. Did a little football, but not big enough, so it wasn't kind of like anything where I, be able to start varsity or anything like that. So soccer was an avenue that kept me busy, and then afterwards running. So basketball was always fun because you get to run up and down the court. You kind of get to go wherever you want. Volleyball, I'd be like a little menace because I want to be where you're taking your shot. I'd want to try to get all the shots, and you'd be like, dude, stay in your spot. So yeah, but nothing extreme, and I never had any challenges. I think when I was a kid, well, I know when I was a kid, like dribbling the ball off of your head, like I did that over 1,000 times without it hitting the ground.
Wow.
So it was, I used to be able to do that. Now I try. Now I try when I go over my cousins who lives behind me. they got the soccer ball, they get like 15, and it just gags me. I'm like, how do you lose it? You know what I mean? Like you're like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna whip my 50, and they're like, don't, and it like hits the ground. But yeah, so maybe that mindset, once I get into something, I do
Mhm.
kind of like to, I guess, master it, if you
Yeah.
will. I don't know if I've mastered running by any stretch, but I do. Put it this way: baseball cards or football cards. I have like 1,000 1989 Dan Marino Pro Set cards. I just buy this. I'm repetitive. It just
Yeah.
is, so like if you said, hey, there's a whole bunch of new Dan Marino cards. No, I want these crummy, worthless ones, but I want to see how many I can get. So I guess that part leads to the if there's any psychologists out there listening, they're like, "Oh yeah, we got this guy dialed in. He's
Yeah, yeah. You carve out your own little your
right."
own little niche, and you just kind of hang out in that area. That I get it. I get it. So the other thing I want to ask, just the wear and tear that you're probably putting on yourself physically with this streak, in terms of strength training or nutrition, hydration, those types of things. Is there any sort of regimen that you follow or things that you do just to keep yourself as healthy and as strong as possible so that you're able to continue with the streak?
Like I do like a couple light free weights, nothing heavy. I do push-ups and sit-ups. I'm not a big gym guy. I've never been into like weights.
Hmm.
But I like to stay active and just try to stay fit. I go through certain periods, maybe trying different things. And I like my wife's always on a diet, or she's always buying something like, oh, this and that. And I do think some things work, like salt sticks. They're like a little tablet.
Hmm.
I do get a good result after that. I enjoy those, but for the most part, I think it's all mental. I really do.
Hmm.
I think if you want a Coke during your run, or you see the Tour de France guys, they have a Coke and some M&Ms. They're not. It's what the body craves, and you feed it that. But no, there's no real super anything that hurts my body. I don't do. I guess if you kind of say like superstitions or habits, or like if it hurts, sometimes I think a lot of runners might get injuries because they do too many different things. I'm going to do 600 leg thrusts and too much, 400 butt crunches or whatever. I don't even know. But it's like, I don't know, just go running. Don't avoid hills. Do the hills. You got to do hills. If you keep avoiding them, they're going to get you. So it's the
That's
little
my
things like
weakness, man. The hills, they
that.
kick my ass every time.
Yeah. So, but like, hills, sometimes people avoid them, but I think it's the mindset of, but I always say, help what helps you. If it makes you feel faster, if it makes you feel more energetic, do it. Like I said, the salt sticks, they might really not do anything to them, but I think I like how they make me feel. So when we have them, I take them. But I'm not stuck on anything,
Mm.
sometimes like I used to do earth water. I used to promote that like it was a product, and I don't know, like it went belly up, and I don't know. I think it was like a big fraud. It was like a, what do you call it? A Ponzi scam or something.
Okay.
So that was like that went out the window. Asics does send me my running shoes, thankfully.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, they're supportive of that, and they'll send me gear. So I'm very thankful. Big shout out to Asics. So I always like when my wife goes and buys her shoes. I'm like, I think I have like two pairs at home that aren't even worn yet. So, but I'll run my shoes, like I'll put 2,000 miles on a shoe. Like my
Wow.
my feet are coming out the soles, and I know they say replace your shoes at 400. No, don't replace your shoes. I think you break them in at 400. I mean, and they got at least another 500 miles after that. So, but again, it's what you like. I'm just speaking for me and what makes my mind work. So,
Yeah. Well, I'm going to take your advice there, but about the shoes, I feel like I always I get about 300 miles on it. I'm so hard on shoes and
okay.
socks. I always have holes in my socks, and I look at my shoes after 300 miles, and it's like they're trashed, and there's holes in them. So I don't know if I'm just like a big oaf on my shoes or what, but I really
Well,
like
you're twice my size, so I'm sure the beating you put on a shoe is a lot less restrictive than the force that I put on my shoe.
right. And I'm not a natural runner at all. It probably looks so awkward. God did not intend for me to be running, but I still do it. Um, the next thing I want to ask you is just I know you talked about that 50 miler, but talk to us about just some of the races that you've done, maybe PRs, in a 5K marathon. Were you a runner, cross country runner, or did you run in college? Any of that or
Nothing.
ultras? Any
You
of those
know,
things?
I did well, I ran, I mean, I would run every day. I think just say that we're at 9,840 for the run streak. I think I might have signed up for like 4 5Ks in my life. 2 10Ks, and then 8 100s, I think. Like a handful of 50s. And then back in the day, I maybe like I know 25 to 30 marathons back in the day. And
So
at that point,
I got to stop you. Did I hear correctly? 8 100s.
yeah. Well, I only finished five.
Okay,
So
still.
yeah,
Now,
yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, that's not like a 100-yard sprint. We're talking 100 miles. So I just want to press on that a little bit. Talk about the 100-mile experience because
Uh,
that's a whole different animal.
yeah, it's like my Super Bowl. Yeah. Anyone who's done ultras around that distance, it's satisfying in so many unspeakable ways, and the memories you take out of it. I think the people make it for me. Like my last 100 I did, my daughter ran with me, my future son-in-law ran with me, my dearest friends all ran with me. My son didn't want to run. He's not a runner, but he was there to support me. So it was like a collective unit. And I finished in like 27 hours. And, I might have been able to finish maybe in 25 and a half, but like when we got to the aid stations, like it was like a party, Jeremy. Like I'm telling you, like any other runner had to envy how lucky I was that day because it was just like these people brought such energy, and any ultra, or even if you're running a 5K or any distance, when you see a friend or family or someone, that giving you support as well as anybody else, but when somebody dear to your heart, I mean, that to me just, it kind of just, really kind of helps out and gives you so much boost. But 100 milers are no joke. But anyone can do them. If you run a 5K, I always tell everybody, if you run a 5K, you can run a 10K. If you run a 10K, you can run a marathon. If you can run a marathon, you can run 50, and if you can run, even if you run a marathon, you can run 100. I always tell everybody it's just going to be a lot slower and a lot harder. And, and then my first 100 was in Burning River, and I got the mile around 13. And from that point leading up to 13, just say me and you were running, you're like, hey, that group ahead of us, this guy ran Badwater. And if you're not familiar with Badwater, that's in Death Valley in the middle of summer. It's one of the hardest races in the world. It's 136 miles, 140 some miles. But I mean, it's ridiculously hard. I couldn't do it. But the guy ahead of us ran it. And, he was, 2 weeks later, he's out, doing the Burning River. And they said this person was this person and that. So mile 13, I'm like, I'm catching up to these people. And I told myself, you have never done this before. From what you've heard, these people are experienced as all hell. Like, you should not be passing these people. So when I got to him, I said, listen, this is my first 100. I go, I don't know how far I'm going to go. I said, but obviously I heard what, people said about you guys. Do you mind if I just hang with you as long as I can for as far as I can? And they took me in. The two ladies were like almost, they're a little older than me, but they were like almost motherly. They took me in. Steve and Denny, those guys were fantastic. And I learned everything within probably a 20-mile stretch with them. And I finished with the ladies, and and the other guys, they went their different ways. But nonetheless, you learn that you walk the hills. You don't run. If you're elite, you run the hills. But you gotta you run the flats and you run the downhills. But you learn it, and it's one of those things. And then it just becomes mental. One more quick thing on that. My first 100 miler, there was a point where I was by myself. I was like mile 76, 70 something. And I don't know if I told you the story, Jeremy, but I'm running. I have my headlamp, and on the trail, there's a dog on the trail. And at this point, I couldn't beat up a 2-year-old. You just have no strength. You have no desire to defend yourself. You're like, what's this dog going to do? So I'm like flashing it, and there's nothing to like throw. There's like no trees or rocks. It's all like just high weeds. I'm like, ah. So I'm sitting there, and every time I move, he moves. I'm like, so finally, two other runners come up. They have these nice headlamps and lights on their hands. And like, dude, you okay? I go, yeah. I go, this darn dog is on the trail and it won't move. The guy flashes his light down this thing. All it was a tree branch. I've started to hallucinate. So it can get it can get pretty tricky out
Wow.
there, and I've
Wow.
experienced it. And then, and true story, the end of that race, I wanted just to stay by people because I was seeing like I was literally like hallucinating. I was seeing like giant babies, and I was literally like I was scared, like I didn't want to be by myself anymore. So I'm like, and
Wow.
not that I even wanted to keep pace with these people, it was so hard, and we weren't even moving fast. But yeah, it was tricky. It was, but
That's
hundreds are if you can do it, you would love it, man. You would love it. I'm telling you.
it's on my list. It's gonna happen. So yeah, I'll definitely be reaching out to you about that for some advice. But
I can
so
pace you.
and just to contextualize this too, these hundreds are part of the streak, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
there's no days off here for Bo.
Yeah, there's no days off. Well, the fun part is it takes me 24 hours. So I get my one day in and then I automatically, get to the next day by, finishing the race. But the ones that I don't finish are always disappointing. Like you get, and that's the other thing about 100 milers is they give you a buckle. And if you don't finish, you don't get nothing. So it's just
Yeah,
like, imagine running 65 miles and when you're done, you're just like, you get a DNF. There's
yeah,
nothing. You get nothing except the aggravation of, and everybody who does ultras or that it's if you don't do it, you're already looking like when's the next time I can get after it. So, but there and some people like Ronald Ross, he lives up in Cuyahoga. He's approaching 100, 100s. He's
wow,
phenomenal. And but yeah, it's a lot of these older folks. There's a mastery to it. And I
yeah,
mean, it's evolved. Years ago, I used to say like the marathon, how we used to kind of view the marathon. I think the ultras are kind of replacing that, because people are more outdoorsy, people are pushing their limits. And we see all the videos and people doing so many, like amazing, like free solo climbing. Like, I can't do it, but I mean, I'll watch every mountain climbing show in the world because I just think that's just
yeah,
insane.
yeah. Wow. Wow. So this podcast is called Courage Pays Better Than Fear, and we want to give the listeners, the viewers, something that they can take away to apply to their lives. And, what I'd really like for you to share is, for that person out there who may be stuck, or who maybe is afraid to take that step that they need to, or maybe wants to pursue a goal, and they just need that little nudge. What what advice can you give them to maybe light that fire to say, hey, you can do this, you can make this happen, and here's how.
You can, and like you can do it. When I do my hundreds, I get pacers, and I try to find people that are new to running or have been running but didn't want to take that next step. And I'll show you one of my 100s. Her name's Barb, dear friend. I call her my girlfriend. She's not my girlfriend, but she's a girl and she's a friend. She's a girlfriend. But prior to her pacing me during Burning River. I mean, she did some 5Ks, but she was just, she liked, you could tell it just was growing for her. She liked, the sport that she found. And Barb did the pacing with me. And I don't know. I think that was the farthest she ever went. I think we went 7 miles. But that was the farthest she went ever with me that night. And then she continued to build up her own, resume of running. And she ended up finishing two 100-mile races. She finished Burning River and Mohican. And Mohican's a bear. Mohican
Wow.
is a real bear. So I think she is the example that you can do it. Listen, I'm telling you, folks, you can do it. And even if you don't do 100 miles, you can do a 5K. And don't worry about your speed. There's always going to be somebody faster than you. Don't worry about that. Worry about yourself. And that's the magic of running. I remember I ran the Tampa Marathon years and years ago, and the guy that I was staying with, he goes, "What do you think you're going to finish tomorrow?" I'm like, "I don't know, like 5,000." And he was like, he was he was like so disappointed. He's like, "Oh my God!" Like I go, "No, I go, it's just there's a lot of people who run. There's a lot of people who are faster, and it's just and he goes, "You can't get faster." And at the time, he's not much bigger than me, but he could bench 300. I said, "Can you bench 400?" He's like, "No, why?" He goes, "Because I can." I go, "Yeah, this is as fast as I run." And he
Yeah.
said, you can do it. All you folks out there, listen. And you listen, if you don't like running, find out something you like. A lot of times people say, "Oh, I want to run," but if you don't like it, don't do. Find out something you like first. Make it, but be a healthy activity, but just enjoy it. I mean, if you love going swinging the golf clubs, go swing golf clubs. You're out there, you're feeling fresh air on your face. It's a release of stress and all those other things that, life, you're a dad, you're a husband, you know what I mean? Everybody has things that you want to, get off your chest and think through it. And I think sports, activity, yoga, anything to get that mind, get the heart rate up, and the mind kind of goes the other way into a peaceful state. But you can do it. And like I said, and again, Jeremy, thanks for having me on today, man.
No problem, Bo. Again, just super grateful that you came on here. Where can the listeners, viewers check out? Is there any site or anything where you have your run streak, or where can they check out your Steelers work for the black and golders out there? Where can we find you?
College to Pro, number 2, College to Pro is the site for my football stuff. And then on my Instagram's B-O loves running, Bo loves running. Simple enough. And, I usually post my stuff there. I don't post as much because then I got like in a habit of worrying about where I was going to take my photo and all that stuff. And then I was like, it got, I just want to go run.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Awesome. Well, viewers, make sure you check that out. And again, Bo, deeply appreciative that you came on here, man. Let me know how I can help you in any way. But I'll probably next time I see you in person will be in Latrobe next August. So, but we definitely got to get it running when I'm out there.
I don't know. You're too fast.
No way, dude.
You're like some sub-3 marathon guy. You're like,
no,
a whole other class level, dude.
No, I'm running. I'm trying to PR here in April. It's a marathon in Delaware. My PR right now, and this is back in 2016, was a 3:31. So I'm shooting for a 3:19. So, but I got ways to go, and I got my kettlebell swings I got to get done first.
I could do 3:19 in like a 22-mile race.
It's gonna hurt, but I'll make it happen. So, but Bo, thanks so much for coming on here. Listeners, make sure you thank Bo in the comments, like, subscribe, and we'll see you back here for another episode.